Work. Hello. Can you see me? Hello and good morning to you. This is going to be video 785. This is the third in our triumvirate today. Uh, this one's going to be a little more serious. 785. Um, Current events in the last 24 hours. Judgment came out on the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and that's what this video is going to kind of be about. So if that ain't your thing, don't worry about it. No problem. But um, in brief, there was a protest going on over the killing of a black man, and a teenager decided they were gonna defend something and took a high-powered gun and through a series of events ended up killing two people and injuring someone else. And the trial was about whether it was self-defense, were they in trouble, blah 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 blah. And yesterday they were acquitted of all the charges. And that's kind of a little bit of commentary about that and how I think it relates to being transgender, which is what this channel is about. So there's a connection there. But what I've noticed is, to set the stage here, is um, I believe that the LGBTQI plus whatever predicament is two or three steps behind the civil rights movement. And so, just as a trend and precedent, you know, uh, you know, you had the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and hell, it's been, what is it, 2020? What is 70, 80, 90, 100? 60 plus years. Uh, Still problem with civil rights, right? Black America, white America, racism, white supremacy, white guilt. Okay. Um, but I think the LGBTQT plus I group, um, we're somewhat following in those footsteps. The current Equality Act that's trying to get passed in Congress is an addition to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. You know, basically requesting protection and equality under the law, which you think all men are created equal, all people are created equal. Um, so I think what affects one will affect the other, and maybe not to the degree of violence, but I'm not suggesting that 100 years from now, well, I take that back. Take that back. If you look at the way things are happening in other places in the world, um, places in the former Soviet Union, I can't think of the name of the country. I'm sorry, I didn't do my research. It was one of the former Soviet states, not St. Petersburg, Georgia. Georgia, sorry, Georgia. If you look at what's happened in Georgia, uh, the European Georgia, not the American Georgia, you'll see trans activists, gay activists. You will see marches and protests. Okay, so it is happening now. Okay, just not right here in the United States. Um, you know, Here you have the potential for people protesting or demonstrating. And what we've seen here in the United States in the last day or two is that it is perfectly acceptable for armed people to, in this case, travel to another state, you know, and show up and somewhat instigate some violence and then use that as a reason to kill people in self-defense. And that might be a stretch for some, but it's a reality now, you know. And as you might expect, it's not even been a day yet. And in this case, um, President, former ex-president Trump has already embraced Kyle Rittenhouse as an American hero. Uh, President Trump's cult is going to embrace him as some sort of messiah or poster child, poster man of, you know, what needs to be done or doing the right thing. I saw today the leader of the Proud Boys has already embraced him. You have three Congress people, current Congress folk, who have offered Kyle Rittenhouse jobs as an intern. Okay. And, so we've taken something here and it's already being sucked up into, in America, the Republican Party. Okay. And so for some, if you look back, and let me rewind back to when President Trump took over, um, within the first week, the White House removed all reference of transgender and LGBTQ stuff from the White House page. Uh, the administration forbade any of its offices from mentioning LGBTQ stuff on their website. I mean, it was like almost like Nazi Germany and the Jews, you know. Um, and so that's how it can affect us, you know. Um, so I guess if, I think it's something to kind of be aware of, you know. It's fascism to a degree, but xenophobia and whatnot. Um, but these people get in power, and you know, look at the backlash that happened with state legislatures and going after trans kids, trans youth, biological males, blah 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 blah. You know, and so I think it would be somewhat naive not to be on our guard. I'm not saying, I'm not calling for or saying we need a violent uprising. Okay, we don't need like the transsexual menace. Okay, if you remember that group from the 80s, the 90s, the transsexual menace. But I think it's something to be aware of. And probably the way forward is just education and exposure. I can tell you in my company, um, we have an LGBTQ network resource group, or an NRG. And our my company fosters inclusion and diversity, and so they encourage people, to put in our email signatures if we want to, our personal pronouns, da 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 da. There's a Humana logo. I work for Humana. Surprise. That's the LGBT, the rainbow flag and the logo, and it says everyone, every day, to be inclusive. And I've gone so far as to put a small uh, asexual flag in my profile. And I did that just because I want to get it out there. I think this last week, I'm sorry to shift gears on you. This last week on Saturday Night Live, Cecily Strong did a bit at the news segment as with dealing with abortion. She dressed up as a clown and she talked about clown abortions just to bring it to the forefront. Before it, currently it's like abortion. Oh, we don't talk about abortion. That's terrible. You know, no, get it out there. Get it out there. You know, stop making it a taboo thing. It's a reality. And I think with the LGBTQ, and like I said, my company, you know, Is it anybody's business that I'm asexual? No, but it just shows that there are people out there, and I think that is the myth, something that, you know, it would behoove us to deal with, and I'm not saying again, you know, start wearing, I mean, I'm tempted to start to wear t-shirts, I'll be honest with you, because that's all I wear, you know. I'm gay or I'm trans or something just to get it out there so that people, realize that there's more gender fluid or trans or something LGBTQ people out there than they realize, because it's very easy to uh, think it's a minority. That, I mean, it is a minority obviously, but you know what I mean, it's easier to subjugate if you think that, you know I don't know, it's like people making jokes about gay guys back in the 80s. Not degenerate. Negate, not negate. Treat badly. Treat badly because they think there's none around, you know. So, I guess that's kind of my thing about, I'm not going to say what has me on edge, but like I said, my hope is that, you know, I don't necessarily see us having the protests we may eventually have to get something like the Equality Act passed, but there's nothing to stop, like I said, at this point, there's nothing to stop a extremist far right person to show up at a rally with a gun and be intimidating and then kill someone and say it was self-defense. I mean, that's the precedent right now. So, it does make me a little concerned, makes me a little concerned, which is very different than what I made a video ago about being playful and interacting with men at my job, or where I work, etc., etc. You know, being so comfortable with yourself and expressing yourself and whatnot. It's anti that. It's the opposite. It's hiding yourself. Going back into the closet for fear of your life. You know. Do I expect uh in all probability, do I expect someone to kill me because I'm trans? No. But it is alarming that that potential is there, and probably it has always been there. But like I said, I do feel like we're like a good 20 or 30 years behind uh, Black Lives Matter. And where I live in Louisville with the Breonna Taylor stuff, you know, the Republicans, unfortunately, you know, have, they used to be afraid of integration of the races and everything. And they're doing it now with, just swap out black for transgender, you know. We're the boogeymen, the boogie women, the boogie people. We're something to be feared and made fun of, you know. And you know, Yahoo had an article yesterday, something about one of the Trump kids said something about, making fun of LGBTQ people. Like I said, we're the Polacks of this age. When I was a kid, um, that was the joke. How did the Pollock fall out of the tree? They were raking leaves. Ha 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 ha. You know, and for other people, it was gay people, and like I said, now it's the trans, and you know, our society is changing. I think it'll be different down the road. I hope it will be. But I just don't, you know, like I said, it, 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 and I don't necessarily know if this video has a point now. I've kind of gone all over the place, but it's how, I look at the Kyle Rittenhouse thing as, you know, it basically has legitimized, like I said, um, there's going to be a copycat, you know, and the next time, police kill a black person, you know, and it's unfortunate. Um, what's the solution? I don't know. Probably time, um, because we need to let the old guard, people who kind of think a little older, just through attrition, just through natural death. Um, it just has to happen. Contemporary people don't think the way people 40, 50, 60 years ago thought, think, and, it just takes time. It just takes time. And that was kind of an old, you know, rallying cry of the civil rights movement was keep your eye on the prize. You know, one day it will be different. For the moment, we just have to press on. And I'm not trying to compare the struggles. Okay, it's totally different. Okay, I think the focus right now needs to be on the civil rights, but I think we need to integrate ourselves with that, and call it human rights, call it, equality for everyone. And I think like I said, I think we're going to get there eventually because the minority, like I said, the old way of doing what I used to call old fuckers, old white fucks. Um, like I said, they're going to die off through attrition. Think about the way things were 50 years ago. It just takes time. It just takes time. And it's not to say that I'm thinking of like Mitch McConnell in the Senate right now, or Kevin McCarthy, or some of the other. Um, that's not to say they're not going to find someone equally as narrow-minded as they are to take their place, but the probability in my state in Indiana where I live, um, I've written to all my senators and my House of Representative people, and they're all anti-trans. Okay, eventually they're going to realize that their base, I mean, and granted, hate begets hate. You know, I just think eventually the kids today, let's say the kids today, my daughter is a good example of the kids today. The kids today don't give a shit about your gender. I made mention of this before in one of my videos where I volunteered as a choir mom, and the kids, I listened to the kids as they talked, and they were all gender fluid. You know, now you could make an assumption about kids that join the chorus being kind of gay, I guess, to begin with, maybe theater kids. Um, but again, if that is true, eventually just they're going to outnumber. You know what I mean? And I always refer Shirley Jackson's short story, The Lottery. Where you have the people in there saying, "There's always been a lottery." Well, eventually those people are going to be gone, and so we can hope, we can hope, we can hope. Anyway, I don't know where I'm driving this bus right now, but I just wanted to kind of make a video about my thoughts, and it's not over yet. It's not over yet. Um, Much like the Breonna Taylor case, where you had three white cops kill a black woman in her own house. She was unarmed, and they got off scot free. Here you have a white kid kill two other people that were unarmed and call it self-defense. I don't get it, but maybe one day. Keep pressing, keep your eye on the prize, I imagine. And again, I think about my company, and I can't say it's that way for every company, obviously. But at some point, like I said, that the balance is the balance is going to shift, and the old white fucks right now that are in power, again, to stay in power, um, if their base changes, if they want to stay in power, they're going to have to shift their views, right? You know, we can hope. We can hope. Anyway, not to end the note on a downer. It is a downer. It's very upsetting. You know, um, my hope is it will change one day. Hopefully before my daughter. Like I said, when her generation is in control, my hope is things will be very very different. And I think of the troll caucus. I heard that expression today. I can't think of his name. Chris Hayes. He called Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Getz and all those guys. He said, "Yeah, the Republican troll caucus." You know, we can hope that eventually, like I said, it's they're in such a minority that they don't. You know, you probably will always have. You'll always have evil. You'll always have darkness. You'll always have hatred. But I guess the hope is that it will be minority. It will be such a minority that it doesn't hold sway anymore. And I can think back to when I was a kid in the 80s, which I realize is 40 some odd years ago. Remember the movie Jungle Fever? It's about a black guy and a white girl in a relationship, and how you know nowadays a multiracial couple, it still raises some eyebrows in some circles. I understand that, but again, we accept. You know what I mean? It just takes time. It just takes time. All right, on that note, speaking of time, I'm going to get off my butt and clean my house. As you can see, my room is a mess, and I will clean it and play some D&D later today, I hope. Anyway, till next time, good luck in becoming your authentic self. Bye-bye.